about time to get started here today. I will kick it over to our lovely host, Kim, who can get started from here.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Mike. So I want to thank everybody for joining us today. As Mike mentioned, my name is Kim Migoya. We'll actually get into some introductions in just a moment, but I'm excited to be here and to be representing the University of Miami Herbert Business School, who we have a long history of teaching excellence in graduate business education. In fact, our flagship program, the Miami Full-Time MBA, we've offered for more than 70 years. And what you're going to find through our conversation today is that there are many variations of the MBA, and that is certainly the case for us here at the University of Miami. We offer full-time, accelerated, executive, professional, even specialized MBA programs. And so we're excited to talk with you about really what that process is as far as planning for graduate school and how you can choose the program that's right for you. So I'm going to share my screen so you can take a look at our presentation there. So as I mentioned, the discussion, the conversation today is really about finding the right experience, the format that is right for you when you're choosing and mapping out different MBA programs. To start off, just a couple of quick introductions. So as I mentioned, my name is Kim Migoya. I'm the Director of Graduate Admissions with Miami Herbert Business School. I've been with the university for nearly 7 years now, working with our graduate programs. And I actually myself am also an alumni of our professional MBA program. And with that, I have also two of our current students. So Nico Vicari, who is actually about to graduate from our full-time MBA, and also Julia Lopez, who is currently in the professional MBA program. So to start off, Nico, if you'd like to introduce yourself, and then Julia.
So how's it going, everybody? Nico Vicari, second year, like Kim said, graduating within a month. Time kind of flies when you're having fun. Also the president of what you consider the student government at the business school. So if there's any questions about student organizations or starting stuff like that, that's definitely my wheelhouse. I also work with Julia as an admissions student worker. So we do a lot of the interviews when it comes to MBAs, and we do a lot of outreach. So you may have heard our names or heard our voices or seen our names before.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Yes, and that is true that some of our graduate business students explore also assistantship positions, student employment positions on campus, and in many cases have the chance to help shape our future classes. So in fact, for Julia and Nico, the fact that they are working with our graduate admissions team, they're the perfect candidates to actually have as part of the conversation today as we talk about also what we're looking for in future students. So, but with that, Julia, if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. My name is Julia Lopez. I'm currently a professional MBA candidate. I graduated from college in 2013, and I started working immediately. I started a fitness event called Fit Miami Festival in 2019, and it launched 2020, and then COVID hit. Which really got me interested in getting my MBA. And so far it's been just a life-changing experience. I'm on like my third class right now, and I can't believe that I haven't even known or I don't know these things that I've just, and I've been working for 5 years in the professional industry. So I'm really mind blown and really, really appreciative of this experience.
Excellent. Thank you so much. And again, Julia and Nico, both thank you for joining me today. Just to go over a couple of key factors as far as what we're going to look at, what we'll be talking about today. First off, of course, why an MBA? I mean, for those who are joining us today, obviously, this is something that has been on your mind that you've been considering perhaps for some time, or perhaps you're just starting to really research options and explore what that experience would be to pursue an MBA. So we'll talk about what factors you want to consider when you are researching, when you're looking at different programs. talk about best practices as far as, as you research those options, what to look for. And then of course, planning for admission, also helping to share some insight. As I mentioned, I've worked with the graduate business programs now for nearly 7 years. I've worked very closely with our admissions committee and can help to share some insight as far as how you can best position yourself to become a competitive applicant. And as Mike mentioned earlier, with Clear Admit, we will be opening it up for questions. So please feel free, if you have questions that come to mind throughout the session, you can post those in the chat or in the Q&A, and we'll take some time to address those. So whether it's program specific or admission specific questions for me, or even student experience specific questions, feel free to share those throughout. Okay. So diving in, really talking about why an MBA. Again, the fact that you're here, you're already really thinking about this, but it's helpful to sort of circle back as far as some of the key factors. This is very much an investment. If you are looking to pursue an MBA, whether you're thinking of taking that time and stepping away from your career to really immerse yourself into a full-time experience, or if you're looking for something that you would balance with your full-time job, it's an opportunity to really invest in yourself today. Minding the gap. So I love that, Julia mentioned COVID, right? As far as one of those factors that sort of sparked like, maybe this is the right time. And I've connected with many professionals that have also had that same sort of aha moment over the past year. Last year, and of course ongoing, we are still facing this pandemic as we start to move, in the right direction. We're still experiencing different disruptions and different challenges in the workplace. And so we have found that many professionals, those that are either launching their career and those that have perhaps years of experience, have over this past year started to really think about, perhaps I go back to school, perhaps this is the time to strengthen not only my network, so broadening, strengthening your network, focusing on that personal and professional development as well. As Julia mentioned, even having worked in the industry 5 years, having that business experience, she's amazed that, coming into the program, even only a few classes in, there's so many things that she had not learned before. So a lot to be gained in pursuing an MBA, but it is important to find the program and the experience that's right for you. So that's really, what you want to start with is kind of thinking about the end goal. For everybody, that motivation, that, interest as far as what sparks, what gets you thinking about graduate school is going to be unique. I've listed out here some of the different motivating factors, obviously looking to career growth, increased earnings. Of course, everybody, nobody is going to turn down increased earnings, but for some, it's even a matter of looking to change your career. Maybe you've been working in your industry and you're wanting to pivot, you're wanting to sort of reset and retool your skills. It could be, that you're on the right path, that you really love your company, your organization, or your field that you're actively working in, but that you want to advance. And for some, it may also be a matter of starting your own company. Perhaps you've always wanted to build something of your own. And again, the skills, the knowledge that you gain in the MBA can help position you to be successful in that endeavor. So as I mentioned, it is unique for everybody. And I'd love to pull from our students' experience and hear from them as far as what really brought them to pursue, and in terms of timing, why it was the right moment for them. So again, Julia or Nico, if you'd like to share.
Yeah, absolutely. So I did have my own company, and because it was events during COVID, it was the worst industry that got hit by the pandemic. And since I started my MBA, I've actually, like just what you've been talking about, have been able to pivot in trying different jobs and really experimenting with that while I'm working in other jobs. And I just landed a job with the Miami Heat. That's something that I was really, really wanting when I got out of college, but I didn't have experience. But just because I had that on my resume that I was pursuing my MBA, that did open the door. And so I, covering those two topics has, really changed my life.
That's a great point. And that's something that, as I mentioned earlier, I'm also an alum of the professional MBA program. And, you imagine, making that investment, pursuing a graduate degree, earning that MBA, that growth, that advancement will come, following graduation. And what really amazed me was seeing, again, for those who are kind of in the right space, which I know, as you mentioned, of course, yes, events were significantly impacted. And so it does make sense that you took that opportunity to pursue the MBA, but I know you've continued to work in marketing, and so exciting to hear now that this opportunity with the Heat has opened up, because that's something that I experienced as well through the program. As many of my colleagues, my classmates in the program, just the fact that they are pursuing, that they are investing in themselves. There were organizations that came knocking, that reached out and wanted to engage with them, and in some cases, individuals were receiving promotions, while they were in the program, within their current company. And in other cases, some did transition to new organizations. So that opportunity for growth is absolutely there. And the doors that open with pursuing an MBA is really impactful. So, and for you, Nico, I know your journey, your path is very different.
I most definitely. I was a younger applicant than most, and my goals were kind of, one, utilizing resources that was so well endowed in, being alumni and just the network that provides, and then accelerating my career. I knew that I had the technical skills to be very successful, but the fact that I just didn't have the leadership skills yet, the MBA is the way to go when it comes to that. And it has bared fruits. I accepted a managerial position with Intel recently. So just being able to gain the knowledge from my network in the program was that next step. The diversity that the program provides, it really helps shape your mind and helps shape your managerial perspective. And so that was like my goal, was to not only to utilize the technical skills that I had, but then to launch into the more managerial and leadership aspects that the program provides.
Perfect, just kind of hearing the different perspectives and what you each were looking for. And absolutely, I think it's interesting to also hear, like you said, Nico, you were definitely one of, the younger applicants, looking to an MBA program. That's something we're going to talk about as well, because, that is a concern that many have, that, do I have enough experience? Do I need to wait? There's never one perfect equation as far as that absolute. It really depends on the individual and what makes the most sense for them, what experience they've gained, what skills they have, and what they're looking to build within the MBA program. So with that, actually, as I mentioned, it's important to really establish your end goal, because depending on the end goal, some of these things, of course, you'll accomplish, you'll be able to achieve no matter what MBA program you go into. At the end of the day, the degree, of course, the credential is the same, whether you're in an executive or a full-time or professional MBA program. And the knowledge gained across the different functions of business, the exposure, that is very much the same. But obviously, if you're pursuing a more full-time position, you do have the opportunity to immerse yourself further, to also potentially specialize within a particular area of business or a particular function. And having the opportunity, as I mentioned, for some, it may be looking to pivot, to change your career. So kind of setting, hitting that reset button. So if you find yourself saying, well, I really want to pursue a career change, or I'm getting started in my career and I really need a more immersive experience to sort of establish that foundation that I can then grow on, then perhaps more of a full-time program would make sense for you. If you find yourself more in that position where it's advancing within your current company or within your current field, where you're saying, I don't really want to step away from, I'm still learning so much in my current role. I want to continue working while I pursue my degree. Then it's really considering more of a professional or an executive, more of a part-time program that would allow you to balance the two. So it's important, again, to identify your end goals, what's specific to you, and then also considering different factors. So, location, of course, again, for some, especially if you plan to continue with your career, or if you want to continue really establishing yourself and growing your career in your local market, you'll plan to stay and really look at perhaps more part-time programs. But there are of course, different markets, there's different programs that are out there. And so there's a lot to consider when thinking about investing, especially in a full-time MBA, as far as where you're going to take yourself, where you're going to go. So it's not just about the timing, the format of full-time, part-time, but also the location that's key. And then the class profile. Now, this is important, especially across, as you think, full-time programs, professional programs, executive. Each program is designed with a certain audience in mind. And so it's not only about, being competitive, okay, which program, would I qualify for, but it's also important to think about the experience. You want to come in and really have the opportunity to build connections with individuals that are at a similar stage in their career. So if you are bringing years of experience that, students that are in the cohort with you are also able to really share from years of experience across the industry. Thinking also about coursework, specializations. Is it important for you to be able to have some flexibility in the curriculum, being able to maybe choose some electives, or are you more interested in a lockstep structure? Are you looking for hands-on learning, or is it important for you to have an internship experience? Again, for somebody who is either earlier stage in their career, gaining that additional experience through an internship can be key. And for those who are looking to pivot, to transition their career in a different direction, having a chance to gain that internship also can be a big factor in having a smoother transition. The networking opportunities, again, class profile comes into that, right? Thinking of who will be studying alongside you, but also the alumni network. So as you look at different universities, looking at that reputation, the network. I know, Nico, that was something that you had mentioned when you thought about what resources you would have access to, and faculty as well. These are some of the key factors. So I know that through the experiences you've shared so far, you've touched on a couple of these things, but perhaps now looking at it as a current student, right? You've gone through that research, you decided on the program that's right for you. I'd love to hear from you and have you share with our group today a little bit about what that experience has been. What have you found works for you? Is it more flexibility? Is it more of the immersive experience? So maybe, Nico, we can start with you.
Definitely. Mine was 100% immersive. A little bit of background. I chose my undergraduate degree based on sport. I was actually a Division I athlete, Division I bowler, if that makes anyone's day. And the school was a school of 800 kids, and each class had maybe 150. So I didn't really get the true experience of having an immersive experience when it comes to students and faculty. Everything was kind of like a family, and I kind of wanted to bridge that into an MBA program, keeping that family mentality in mind, but also having more opportunity to be involved. And the UM was kind of the bridge for that. Everyone said, Miami's a huge city, but what people don't realize is that it is a huge city, but it is a small place, and everyone is so family oriented, and everyone is so willing to help when it comes to faculty and administration, and that was very important to me. So seeing that Miami is very selective with their applicants, it requires a smaller pool of students, and that then you are able to utilize yourself and pivot and use the resources of alumni and faculty. I still am connected with faculty to this day, and recruiters and people in the Career Center who will continue to provide for us and are always willing to take out the extra time, even if it's not in their office hours or when they're on call or when they're in the office. Like, they're willing to be there for you. And that was definitely important for me, being younger and lacking the full-time experiences, having those people to lean on and to really have that helpful mindset. And so being immersive in that and being able to be involved in the, like I said, I'm the president of the student government, ex-president of the consulting club, worked in the Career Center, work in admissions. So just having that ability to be into everything and gain all that experience has been super beneficial. And then, of course, the internship. Being that I didn't have the full-time experience, I needed some, and I needed to utilize what UM provided to launch into that. And so the internship was very important to me. And I remember in my interview, Kim and I were talking about full-time versus accelerated. And the biggest thing I harped on was I wanted the network and I wanted the internship. And I think realizing that and realizing what I needed to be successful was what led me to the full-time program.
Absolutely. And I love that you mentioned, the career services, because, as I talked about the end goal and really thinking about what direction you're looking to go, is it a matter of growing within your current field? Do you plan to continue with your company? Or is it a matter of transitioning, pivoting, or building up your experience in order to be more competitive in the workplace? That's something that you also want to think about, is how much access would you be looking to have with regards to the career services, the career advancement? For Miami Herbert Business School, we have a dedicated team that works closely with our MBA students, but keeping in mind that for those who are full-time, it's really built into the experience for those students. So they receive more direct one-on-one career coaching. They receive invitations to all of the different workshops and seminars and recruitment events. Whereas if you are more of a professional or an executive MBA student where you're balancing your career and your studies, you're not going to have that built into your curriculum. You would still have access to tap into some of the different resources. Of course, the network, the biggest of all, but there are some different tools that through career services that they provide that you can leverage, but you wouldn't have that very hands-on approach to really working with you and building your career plans, your goals, and helping you to secure, internships and positions after graduation. So that's a key factor as well when you are looking ahead and deciding what path may make sense for you. If you really are looking to have that career support built in, then a more full-time program is going to deliver that for you. So, and now Julia, again, from more of the professional, I know you've shared a little bit about, curriculum wise, how much you've already been learning in the program, but for you, can you share a bit as far as sort of that balance? Because that is a question that I receive a lot of times from professionals that say, I would love to, I see the value, I want to be able to pursue an MBA, but I just don't think I can balance it. I don't think I can take that on. Can you share some insight into the structure and how this experience has been for you? Oh, Julia, you're on mute.
Thank you. Yes, definitely. It's been manageable, especially for someone like me who's kind of had to come out of COVID. I had a terrible experience with work, and so I've had to bite off more than what I could chew. So taking on this program, committing to it, it's totally manageable. You meet on Monday evenings and Saturday mornings, and the teachers really are flexible, and they really know your schedule, and they work with you. They're very patient, but for the most part, they don't give you an overwhelming amount of work. But it's very like qualitative and quantitative. So it's just like the quality of your work. And you get like really good feedback. I mean, all three professors that I've had, Kim, I've told you multiple times, like when we meet one-on-one, I'm like, wow, like this professor is just amazing. And I started in January, so I've been online, and the class that I'm in now, I'm actually going on campus. There's a couple of students on there, and this may be the case for some of the new students that do join the program, just because of whatever the policies are for COVID at the time. But yeah, you have the option of going on campus or online. And for me, I focus more when I'm in class, and I could really like spend time with the professor either before or after class, and and that's really, it really benefits me. And I think overall the balance in terms of classwork after, it's really manageable, and that's what I really love about it, because right now I'm really focusing on work. So I would say like it's about 50-50, because I do want to make sure I get the best out of the program, but at the same time, like I do need to focus on work and paying the bills, but just like my professional skills and being able to apply both. So it's a bit of a dance right now, but it's great, a really great experience, because things are just popping in my head. I'm like, wow, this is great. And then I get to apply it to work. And yeah, so it's a really good balance.
Absolutely. It's so great to hear. And I know we do have those conversations a lot as far as the faculty, and Nico, you touched on that too, talking about how, even as you're finishing up the program, that you're still connecting with I'm sure professors that you had even in your first year. And that's something, the support that you have in the program, whether it is in a full-time, a professional, and executive program, our professors are truly incredible. And so that's something through your research, you want to get a sense of the experience, the background of the faculty, how accessible are they? Because that's something that has always really been remarkable to me, how very hands-on, how very connected our professors are. And I think going back to, that smaller class environment, our classes are typically on average, maybe 20 to 30 students in an actual classroom. Now with our full-time MBA cohort, classes can be a little bit larger, but even then there might be different sections, maybe where we break off into 2 cohorts. So having the chance to study and to engage in a smaller class environment like that really allows you to build those connections. And that is something that's key to the experience. Hands-on learning, that is something across our programs. We really look to project-based learning as well as case-based studies, a lot of collaboration within an MBA. And that's why, again, going back to thinking of the class profile, your cohort that you'd be studying with, really look to make sure that that is aligned as far as the experience you're bringing and what you would be able to pull from your colleagues in the program. So a little bit of a kind of to-do list based on everything we've talked to this point. It's really making that list for yourself, right? We've talked about the end goal, identifying that for yourself, what you're wanting to accomplish, and then making that list as far as what factors are important to you. You might say that everything on this list sounds great, but certain factors may have more priority for you. So you really want to identify that and determine, what is the non-negotiable? What is it that, you really, if you say, look, I'd love to continue working, but to get to that next stage in my career, I really feel like I need the hands-on support with career services and I need an internship to be able to gain that different experience, then making that investment in a full-time program is going to make more sense for you. So that's where, again, making your list is going to be really important, and that will help you through the process. Another thing, of course, we've touched on, the prestige, the alumni, the network, the recognition. As you look at MBA programs, there are various rankings, which we always say, for rankings, it is a great place to start your research, but of course, not where you really want to finish. It's good to start narrowing down and look at those that have really been recognized, but keeping in mind that across each ranking publication, there are different factors that are considered. And a lot of times it can be hard to navigate that information. So reaching out, connecting more directly with an admissions counselor, with a director, somebody like myself who has experience with the programs and can help you to navigate that information is really recommended. We can also put you in contact with current students that are in the program in which you may be considering to help you get a better sense as far as how that aligns. So definitely wanted to touch on those different factors that are important when you're mapping out these options. I also want to share with you, I know you've heard me now talk about, the different portfolio of programs that we offer, just to give you a little glimpse into what that looks like here with Miami Herbert Business School. You'll see that there's quite an array of programs. You've heard that, of course, Julia is currently studying in the professional MBA. Nico will be graduating now from the full-time MBA program. As Nico mentioned, even through his application process, we also talked about the accelerated MBA. And you can see across each of these different programs, the kind of profile, and of course the program duration can vary. Some of them are longer time frame, full 2 years, 21 months or 23 months with the full-time and professional MBA program. And some are faster paced. Some, for those who have, completed studies in business previously, they're able to really fast track their success coming into, for example, the accelerated MBA, which is completed in only 7 months. But again, just as with the conversation, that Nico had mentioned when he thought about what was important to him, that internship, that hands-on experience was really crucial to choosing the program that's right for him, which is why he looked to more so the full-time 2-year MBA program. So each of these will give you a little bit of a glimpse. I've indicated the average of experience for the class, but keep in mind that with each cohort, there is a, kind of a range, right? There's a broader mix of different experiences, but for a full-time MBA, most coming in are typically around 3 to 5 years of professional experience. You have some that have, more experience, maybe even up to 10 or so years, but those are individuals who are really looking to leverage the full-time experience in order to pursue a career change. And then you have individuals like Nico who are really launching their career, getting started, and looking to that full-time MBA. I would say that, for each year, and for those who may be joining us today and saying, well, I'm finishing up undergrad, or I have maybe only a year or two, does that mean that I can't apply to the full-time MBA? Certainly not. We would definitely recommend for you to pursue, to explore which program you feel is best aligned with your interests and what you're looking to gain. And keep in mind that, again, there is a broader range. For a full-time program, typically about 10% of the incoming class each year may be coming straight through from undergrad. And those are individuals like Nico who have really proven themselves through their undergraduate career, who have perhaps had really, significant internship experience, or who've been very involved and have taken on leadership opportunities during their undergraduate career. So there is certainly opportunity for those that may be just starting off in their career to pursue that. When you get into those programs that you see on the bottom row, professional, the executive programs, these do have more of a strict requirement as far as the professional experience. For the professional MBA, the average for the incoming class each year is usually around 7 years of post-undergraduate experience. And the committee really would want to see a minimum of 3 years of post-undergraduate experience for those. Global Executive MBA in Health Management. For those programs, really students are coming in with a minimum of 10 years. But again, there can always be that gray area. So if you have really accomplished great things, you've had very progressive experience, but you've been working for, maybe 7, 8 years, and you think that a more flexible option such as the Global Executive, a hybrid type of experience would be for you, connect with us, let us know, and I'd be happy to walk through and help you learn more about how you may be a competitive candidate for that program. Okay, so a little glimpse, as I mentioned, at the broader portfolio of programs that we offer at Miami Herbert Business School. And now to share with you really what the committee looks for. So it is a matter of not just the level of experience. I know on the previous screen you saw, for each program, that average number of years. The number of years is not as critical as the quality of that experience. So just as I mentioned a moment ago, you may have somebody that's looking to an executive MBA, and perhaps they have nowhere near the 15 or 20 plus years that most students coming into the program have. Maybe they're closer to that 10-year, but yet they've really truly accomplished a lot. That very well may be the right program for them. So thinking about the level and the quality of experience, past achievements, so in terms of academics, and for some programs, the test performance as well. So I'll talk with you about that in terms of the admission criteria, but the GMAT is really the standard. It is the graduate management admissions test for those who are looking to pursue an MBA. In more recent years, the GRE is an alternative that many programs will consider, but of course you want to be able to connect and confirm with the admissions team or with the advisors as far as if that is an alternative that you could submit. And also thinking as far as what programs would not require that. Our executive, our professional MBA programs, those, because they are really placing much more weight on that professional experience, they're not going to require the standardized test. Motivation, right? That personal drive, your future goals, and how that aligns with the program is something that the committee is also going to look to. And then recommendations. So looking to those in your career who either are current leaders, perhaps your current manager or supervisor, or somebody that you've worked for previously, perhaps somebody who has led or has seen you rather lead a project or an assignment and has seen how you can really deliver, those are individuals that you want to look to receive a recommendation in support of your application to the MBA program. For Miami Herbert Business School, for the programs, most of the programs that we've touched on, you really would need to have one recommendation. The exception to that is our executive health MBA program, which requires a minimum of 2, but you can actually have up to 3, which that many times, comes up as a question as well. Well, am I at a disadvantage if I have only 1 recommendation, whereas other applicants might be submitting 3? Think again about quality over quantity. So, having 2 or 3 recommendations just for the sake of having those additional contacts is not necessarily going to add strength if they cannot speak to, as closely your qualities and the experience that you have that would contribute to the MBA program. So really think more in terms of the quality there, okay? Helping again the committee to really understand as far as why you're looking to pursue this, what that next chapter of your career may look like, and how this program would play a part in helping you to achieve that. So again, just some insight as far as what the committee looks for. It is a very holistic review in terms of what they are considering as they assess each individual candidate. Now, for our current students, Julia, Nico, or is there anything that you would add as far as recommendations, tips for those who are looking to follow in your footsteps?
I would say really focus on fit. I think especially when you look at when the committee looks at these things, they look at, are you going to fit into the classroom? And I know on the right side of the screen, I think last slide, it talked about what you can provide to the classroom. And I think that is definitely the greatest weight, is looking to see, okay, what can I provide, whether it's experientially or just, having that whatever mindset you have that can then push a conversation 5 more minutes into a greater aspect. Or, maybe you see it from a different point of view, and that provides a greater holistic experience to every other student in the classroom. And that just goes back to fit. And so really understanding the program values and seeing if they align with your values. And if that's the case, then, a lot of times you look at these candidates and they have that it factor. And it's just, they're going to hold themselves very well in a classroom, and they're going to provide a lot for the students. And I think, at least for myself, I think whatever you can provide more to each other, you're going to provide more to the program.
Absolutely. And I love, Nico, of course, I know you've recently been working very closely with many of our current MBA applicants and getting to connect with them through the admission interview process. We love, through the interviews for our candidates to be able to connect with current students, to ask questions and really get a better sense of what that program experience would be from someone who's really living it and breathing it right now. And having the chance to connect with many of those individuals. I know we've had conversations, you've had feedback of just, how impressive, these individuals are. And I think that it factor, that is definitely something that the committee looks for as far as, what somebody can bring to the program, what they would contribute within the classroom and within the Miami Herbert community. And Julia, is there anything that you would add to that?
Yes, I would say for the professional program, students who I do hear a lot of students that are interested in applying, is it too late? Am I too old? What's it like? And those are the questions I had and the fears that I had as well. Just because it's hard going back to school, you really have to get into that rhythm and into the routine of things. And it's about that commitment and knowing that you do want to learn, you do want to take your career to the next level. And if you do have that in your drive and you're like, hey, I want to continue learning, there's still something there that I want to give. And I would say just start by filling out your application. I know that for me, I'm like, well, do I want to go there? I'm like, well, I haven't even been accepted. How do I know if, I'm if that I think just the best place to start is fill out the application. It takes time. There's, you know, a lot of things that, a lot of steps you need to take, but just getting that done, just kind of like putting it on the calendar, contacting one of us, not having any like fear about what it could be. We've all gone through, you know, some of the worries that you have. So just by familiarizing yourself with what that could be and what I think it's just like I said, just start by your starting your application, and then by the time you know it, a month passes by and you'll know if you get accepted, and then you go from there.
That is such a good point that you mentioned, which is, you know, really starting that process, right? You know, we all research and we start thinking about and we start planning in our head, but you ultimately you don't really know what those options are until you go for it. And, you know, it is just as much a decision for you as an individual as it is for the school and for the program to determine, is there a fit? And so the sooner you are beginning those steps, the sooner you're engaging and connecting with, you know, the admissions advisors, with contacts at the business school to help you walk through that process, the better off you'll be. Because at the end of the day, you want to be able to have those options in front of you so that then you can say, okay, I've been offered admission here, you know, let me really weigh out and see, based on everything I've learned about, you know, the culture and the program, the student experience across these different institutions, you can then determine which ultimately is the best fit for you. Now, the other factor, which we haven't talked about, is, you know, in terms of the financial investment as well. The earlier you are planning and going through the process and being considered for admission, you'll also be able to find out sooner, not only if you're being selected for admission, but if you've been awarded any financial assistance from the business school. And so, you know, for our programs, part of the admission review, if the committee finds that there is a fit, and if the individual has indicated, we have within the application a space where you can indicate interest in being considered for scholarship, they will then automatically look to see as far as what you may be eligible for. So having that information, you know, earlier on really equips you with being able to start planning on the financial side and being able to map out how you're going to, you know, manage the investment as well. So that's a really good point as far as getting started. And then, you know, as Nico mentioned as well, it's really comes down to that fit as well, and thinking about what you can bring to the class. So thank you both for your insight. I know, again, the fact that you have both been through the experience, you've been through the process, and especially now, you know, being a part of helping also, you know, the graduate admissions team, you've been able to gain even more insight into, you know, what it takes to really plan for graduate school. So, you know, for our programs, and just to share insight, and again, this is part of the process as you explore and consider MBA programs, you want to connect with each institution and really look to, okay, what are the requirements? What do I need to do? And for us, it really begins with an application to start. The online application for us is provided through Business Cast, which is a common app program. You go in, and of course there's different institutions, different types of graduate programs. So you'll narrow down and really search for Miami for the program in which you're most interested. And as you select that, you go in and you're able to fill out, you know, of course, details about your personal information, of course, contact information, and then it gets into academic history, some supporting details really about your professional background, so uploading a copy of your resume. And then there are some program specific materials as well. And that's where it will vary a little bit, although for every program we do require a personal statement. We also require that you provide copies of your academic transcripts, and at least, as I mentioned before, at least one recommendation. There's also certain tests that may or may not be required. Now, if anyone is applying as an international applicant, if you have not studied in the US or earned your degree in another English-speaking country, then an English proficiency exam such as a TOEFL or the IELTS would be required. The GMAT or the GRE, again, this is going to be really for those who are looking to our full-time MBA, the 21-month, 2-year program, the accelerated MBA and the accelerated MBA in real estate, we do require the GMAT. Again, as I mentioned, the GRE could be considered as an alternative to that. And in some instances, we are able to waive that requirement. But this is where, again, you want to really, be reflective. You want to look at your background and determine, okay, would I be particularly strong in certain areas? If you look back and you say, well, undergrad wasn't really my best time, maybe you finished strong, but because you weren't really as focused earlier on in your freshman year, perhaps you weren't able to finish with as strong of a GPA as you would have liked, then you may want to leverage that GMAT or that GRE in order to strengthen your application. But if you are somebody who really finished with incredibly strong academics, if you have, some years of professional experience, and you'd like to see if there's any way the committee can consider you without that test requirement, there is a way to submit first and to be considered for a potential waiver. It's not guaranteed, and I've seen requests that are approved. I've seen some requests that are denied, but it is also important to consider that when that waiver request is not approved, that does not reflect on your candidacy as an applicant for the program. It just means that they do still need that final requirement in order to complete the review and to issue a decision on your application. So we would then work with you in terms of the timing to prepare and to plan for that and to submit that score. So for us, you would find that actually some of these different materials can be submitted after your application is received. The recommendations, of course, you do need to list the contact within your application, but then the actual form, their recommendation, they can complete after your application is already received. Official transcripts can be submitted after, and again, test scores can be submitted after as well. So I think to Julia's point, it's really a matter of starting the process. Don't catch yourself, just kind of talking around in circles and planning in your mind when you haven't taken those steps yet to really map out and to see if this would be an option for you. So a little bit about, again, our process as far as the admission review. The final step, once an applicant has provided all of these different materials that are required for their program, we would then invite them to an admission interview. The interview is an opportunity for us to get to know more about you beyond what's on paper, and really, again, to be able to further assess that overall fit. So again, a little bit about our background. We welcome any questions that you have about either the process, next steps, anything in terms of the programs or the student experience. Please feel free to type those either into the Q&A or into the chat, and we'd be happy to address those questions. One thing I just want to reiterate again is, with that GMAT or that GRE, if you are somebody who's looking to, let's say, the executive MBA programs or the professional MBA, that automatically you don't have to request a waiver. That's not going to be required for those programs. Okay, but again, it can vary. So as you research and you look at different institutions, you always want to connect and determine what the requirements are for those particular programs. I'm also going to share, again, of course, we're still on to help address any questions that you have, but I want to welcome you to connect. You can schedule time to meet with me to further discuss your interest in the MBA programs and how you can best position yourself and how you can choose really the program that is right for you. So I'll leave my contact here for just a moment and let us know any questions that you have. Okay, and so you have my contact again there. I'm going to go ahead and stop share just so we can go back to our panel here. All right. And again, I really want to thank our students for joining me today and sharing their experience. Again, I think we've all been through that process of planning for graduate school, and to be able to really learn from those who've been through the experience and who are in their studies now, I know is such a benefit. So if there's any questions that we can help to further clarify, let us know.
I'd also say feel free at any time to reach out. You know, I think everyone is extremely welcoming to hearing even just prospective students. You know, it's always good to hear the interest, and it's always good to answer the questions that may be bugging you before you even apply. So I wouldn't let that worry you. So, you know, feel free, whether it's through the admissions inbox or, you know, email, LinkedIn, to reach out. And, you know, everyone on the team and everyone in the program is so willing to help the next crop of applicants that we're just excited to see everyone who's interested.
Absolutely. Yeah, thank you for adding that. You mentioned, you know, LinkedIn, you mentioned, again, for anybody who is looking to pursue an MBA and is looking to engage with Miami Herbert Business School, our admissions team can be contacted at mba@miami.edu. So I'm going to type that into the chat as well. And again, I had shared my contact information on the previous slide. But that is a great point. We have just really an incredible community, you know, the support, the resources for not only, you know, our applicants through the process. We're here to help, we're here to address those questions you may have, but also with the students as they start that journey. So again, thank you, Julia, and thank you, Nico.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, thanks for having me.
That's right. And thank you, Kim, as well. And also Nico and Julia for joining the session today. And for our attendees who visited, and for those who will be watching the video recording of this as well. Really great session, very in-depth. And I know a lot of questions that applicants have. You covered the full gamut. So this is really, really fantastic stuff. I enjoyed it, actually. So this is great. And, you know, we look forward to hearing from you guys again soon. And thanks again for putting this together. This is awesome.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for having us. We enjoyed it, and we'll look forward to connecting with everybody as you continue that journey and as you map out your options for graduate school.